Hey, what's up? Yours truly, Brian Earl here at Christmas Past headquarters in sunny San Mateo, California. I hope wherever you are in the world that you're happy, healthy, and full of the Christmas spirit, just like I am every day. And today we're going to do something a little different. I was chatting over with the folks on the Facebook group. And by the way, if you haven't joined the Facebook group, I'll put a link in the notes below. Come on by and join us. We're a friendly group of people who love discussing Christmas. But I put a question out there saying, is there anything you'd like to know? I'll do a little video like a Q&A and ask me anything kind of thing. And this is my attempt to do that. So our first question comes from ALONSO, who wants to know, when was the moment you realized you needed to share your Christmas love with the world? Well, first of all, thank you, Alonzo, for the question. Thanks also for being just a great friend to Christmas Past, to the podcast, the Facebook group, and everything else besides. Alonzo is a film critic and the author of Have Yourself a Movie Little Christmas, in addition to hosting the Linoleum Knife podcast. And I love this question for a lot of reasons. Number one, I'm the kind of guy who carries a notebook around with me all the time with all my little goals in it. Oh, and by the way, I did a video before on the channel where I was talking about my Christmas podcast wish list, one of which was a Christmas music podcast called Tinsel Tunes, and someone actually did it. Dwayne Bailey has created the Tinsel Tunes podcast, and I'll put a link again in the show notes below. Check it out. He was kind enough to send me a sticker. But anyway, in my notebook, I always list all my goals, and sometimes they're very specific, like I'd like to learn a certain song on the piano by a certain date, and sometimes they're a little more general. So for the longest time in my notebook, I had written that I want to do something Christmassy, and I really had no idea what that was. It was something I would just flesh out or when the inspiration struck me. And that happened around 2014, where then as now I was listening to lots of podcasts, and my favorite kind were the kind of NPR style ones, things like Wait, Don't Tell Me, or Ask Me Another, Planet Money. And around that time, the Christmas season rolled around, and I said, oh gosh, I wonder if NPR has a Christmas podcast. And they kind of do. They have this sort of selection of their favorite Christmas stories, but nothing like what I had in mind. Something that would take the history behind Christmas traditions and do this kind of nerdy deep dive into it, looking for an actual story behind the traditions and producing and editing it in that way that almost sounds like a news piece. So when I realized that that didn't exist, I basically identified a gap in the podcast market and I went for it. So that was really the moment. At least as far as all of this stuff goes with the podcast and blog and YouTube channel, I've always shared my Christmas love with the world as much as I can, but now with the social media stuff, I can do it a little more efficiently and effectively. So thank you for that question, Alonzo. Question number 2, Todd has a question about the podcast. How many hours of research are required on an average podcast? Good question. Not one that I actually keep track of, although maybe I should so I can get more efficient in making the podcasts. But it's a pretty drawn out process. First of all, I have to identify an expert that I could talk to. Then there's a lot of back and forth, just wrangling time with those people. I consider the interview itself part of the research, and then I do quite a bit of reading. I really want to be able to consult sources that I trust, especially on things like statistics. So for example, in the episode about Christmas cards, I had to consult a bunch of different sources before I was satisfied with the stat that I gave on the number of Christmas cards sold. Christmas being what it is, a very popular topic, lots of people write about it, and it's really easy to just sort of copy and paste falsehoods from one blog post or social media post to another. So I'm really diligent in making sure that the facts that I share with you come from trusted sources. So usually I like to consult, government websites, first-person accounts, things like that. I love reading old newspaper articles on things. So it's a lot, long story short. If I had to guess, I'd say something like 12 hours worth of research go into everything. And then there's the production side of it where I actually write up the script, record it, weave in all of the narration and the music. So I'd say all told, each episode takes maybe 24 hours to produce. And like I said, I'd love to get more efficient on that. So thank you, Todd, for that question. Let's see, Anna wants to know, if I could celebrate Christmas in any other country, what would it be and why? Well, I've been lucky enough to do that in 2 different places. Back in, I want to say 2006 maybe, my wife and I went to the Bahamas to celebrate Christmas. And they have Christmas there for sure, but they also have something called Junkanoo, which, if you can imagine Mardi Gras meets Christmas in the Bahamas, that's pretty much the deal. It's this outdoor festival with a parade. They make lots of noise. They have these little noisemakers, and it's just a really, really great time. So we woke up Christmas morning on Harbor Island in the Bahamas. We rode horses on the beach, and it was just a wonderful wonderful, wonderful day. And just a great way to see what Christmas and life in general is like in other parts of the world. And then a couple years ago, we were in Iceland. And Iceland is a really cool place to be for Christmas. They have the Yule lads, who are kind of their replacement for Santa, and Grilla, the Christmas witch. And the Yule lads kind of come to children's houses on the 7 nights before Christmas. Each of them has their own little personality. They're almost like the seven dwarfs. So that's really a lot of fun. Where have I not been that I would like to go? Honestly, don't know yet. I would love to see some of the German Christmas markets. I'd love to see what Christmas might be like in some of the African countries that celebrate it. Last year, before Christmas, I was in India. I was in Pune, India for work, and Christmas is totally a thing in India from when the British were there. So there is a big Christmas celebration. It's nothing at all like what we have here. They do it in their own way, but it's really cool, and it was a lot of fun to see. So thank you, Anna, for that question. And our last question comes to us from Christine, who has the age-old question, is it better to give or receive? Well, that depends on what you're giving. If it's a hug, I would say that everyone's a winner, equally good to give and to receive. But maybe you're talking a little bit more about when it comes to Christmas gifts, in which case I'd have to say it's better to give. And that's because of the way I like giving gifts. I'm not a real big fan of just buying things off the shelf or online. I like to put some creative thinking into my gift giving. And I mentioned in a previous video here on the channel that my wife and I do this thing where we pick a keyword every year and then have to buy gifts that fit into that keyword. So we've done things like colors of the rainbow or action adventure, and then everything we get each other has to fit into that. So a good way to sort of spur creative thinking. And I also like making things, like doing homemade gifts. So all of that stuff really makes it a lot of fun for me to give. So definitely better to give than to receive. So look, guys, thank you very much for taking some time to get to know me a little better with this Q&A. Maybe something I'll do more of if you're interested, so you can leave a comment below. By the way, since you're down there anyway, why don't you subscribe to the channel so that you can get these updates when they come out. And again, please do join us on the Facebook group. You can be as active or not active as you want. You're not committing to anything by joining. We're just a friendly group of people who love talking about Christmas and other things too. So hope I can welcome you there sometime soon. Thanks very much for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.